The Hidden Demon Within, written by Billy Sheely, a biography of an American victim to child molestation, a first person account into the life, emotional, and physical damage of the victims to these actions, to show the torment, nightmares, and day to day life, from our regrets to our flashbacks. This is in dedication to show the story, the life, the damages of abuse, the signs of possible abuse, and that there is no textbook signs for abuse. Anyone could become a victim from the hidden demon within. Blank page. Chapter 1. It always started with the vacuum pump. At this point, it has become more routine than expectant. It has become more expectant rather than routine. When it was time for bed, I was expected to follow as an obedient counterpart. When we would get to the bedroom, he would lock the door using the sliding deadbolt latch, the ones used on chests, boxes, drawers, and garden gates. I was instructed to undress upon the locking of the door and wipe all the dust from my feet before getting in the bed. Okay, quote, okay, undress and dust yourself off, then get on the bed and wait for me, end quote. As I would undress, I could feel my own arousal taking form. Laying there naked on top the covers of the waterbed, I felt cold. It felt cold, with a shiver running across my skin, with a prepubescent erection jutting straight up, when a blob of Vaseline was dabbed onto my penis. Grease up. So I did as I was bidden. My uncle then took his vacuum pump from a drawer on his dresser and laid on the bed beside me. When he would start fondling and masturbating me unexpectedly, I was to do the same in return. When I wouldn't, he would grab my hand and place it on his genitals. And I guessed that when he was satisfied with the state of my arousal, he would place the vacuum pump on my penis and start pumping, and again, when he was satisfied with the suction pressure, he stopped squeezing the bulb and would play with the pump while on me. He would pull it up and push it down and move it in a circular motions, both clockwise and counterclockwise, without breaking the vacuum seal. He would also decrease and increase the vacuum pressure, creating a sucking motion, and again, when he was satisfied with me, he put the pump on himself, and when he was satisfied with his own pleasure, I was expected to do the same thing to him. So again, I did what I was told. After he was done pleasing himself with the vacuum pump, he would have me lay on his belly when he grabbed some more Vaseline and masturbated both of us together, both by hand and using the vacuum pump. I don't know how long any of this lasted, but again, when he was done with that, he took a rag and wiped us off. And when it was time, and then it was time for oral sex. This as before was always initiated by my uncle. When he was finished with the vacuum pump, he would wipe it off and place it back in the dresser drawer. As I lay on top of the bed with my arousal still fresh, he would lay on his belly below me, placed his head between my legs, and would proceed to perform oral sex on his young prepubescent nephew. And he did not know any meaning or form of the word stop, as I know I demonstrated several times my eagerness for that to stop. He would wrap his tongue around my tiny penis and essentially have oral sex on me. He would move his head up and down my shaft, never exposing the glands, rotating his head and tongue, and suck as well. Due to my prepubescence, I was incapable of having any type of muscular orgasm, no ejaculation, and no rhythmic prostate contractions, which lead to intense penile pleasure more akin to what I can only describe as the orgasm of a woman. It was so intensely pleasurable that it was almost painful. I wanted it to stop, but at the same time wanted it to continue. But involuntarily my legs seemed to wrap around his neck, trying to get him to stop. But he just took the bag, placed it in my mouth, told me to bite down as he held my legs apart and continued to suck until a sense of euphoria filled my head. My muscles ceased to fight. Then he switched positions where he was on the top of the bed and I was between his legs, where I was instructed to do the same to him. He never ejaculated in my mouth that I can remember. Sometimes he would have us both mouth fuck each other. I was always on the bottom and he was always on the top, in a dominant position, and like doing push-ups when he went down, I was expected to have my mouth open to welcome him as he did to me. And on the upstroke he would suck as he pulled me from his mouth, and vice versa. This was more tolerable than the straightforward oral from him. The more I look and think back on it, and think about it, the more I see it was straightforward BDSM without the bondage. He was the dominant, while I, unknowingly, was his submissive, to play out his every fantasy that he could not get from women, considering that most women are not fond of being treated like property. So this individual I call uncle went from being my family member to being my master. I don't think I could tell why it was always kept secret. I don't think I will ever truly know, but I'm sure that fear and conditioning had a lot to do with it. As I said before, he was the dominant and master, while I was the submissive. And he would turn violent at the drop of a hat, so I can only assume that fear, love, and the euphoric pleasure kept me from speaking out. On all occasions after the above mentioned, what I attribute to his form of foreplay was finished, we would quite literally, for a better term of the word, have sex. He would lube us up again with Vaseline, took our penises together against our abdomens, and slide our stomachs together in an intercourse-type fashion. Again, I have no time recollection as to how long this lasted. It varied, but consistently appeared to last close to 30 minutes. And after some time of doing this again, whenever his own pleasure was satisfied, that he would masturbate himself to an ejaculation climax. He ejaculated all over both of us. The method of how he done this varied each time as well. Sometimes I would be lying on his chest, and others beside him on the bed. After a completed orgasm one time, he told me that thick liquid is white like milk, and one day you'll make it and be able to do this, too. Like, who says that to a 5-year-old anyways?